Welcome to Caregiver Chats. I'm Dr. Lakelyn. Today is World Alzheimer's Day, and in this bonus episode, I'll be talking to the Alzheimer's Association's CEO, Dr. Joanne Pike. So stay tuned and we'll get into it. Caregiver Chats is a podcast designed to help those caring for older adults find balance, support, resources, and encouragement. If you're caring for an aging family member or friend, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Dr. Lakelyn. I'm a gerontologist and caregiving advocate for Home Instead, an honor company. I know how busy caregivers are, and I'm so grateful that you're taking the time to listen. I also want to hear from you. Please email me your caregiving questions, and I plan to answer them on future episodes. My email is caregiverchats@homeinsteadinc.com. That's caregiverchats@homeinsteadinc.com. In today's episode, this is our first ever bonus episode, and we thought it was fitting to bring you some extra content today, specifically September 21st, because it's World Alzheimer's Day. In this episode, here's what you can expect. I'm going to share a little more information about World Alzheimer's Day, and then I'll share an interview that I did recently with Dr. Joanne Pike. She is the CEO of the Alzheimer's Association. Dr. Pike will share with us the latest updates in Alzheimer's drug development, important tips for keeping up your own brain health, and helpful resources for dementia family caregivers. I can't wait to share all of this good information with you. Let's start with some insights on World Alzheimer's Day. In the last episode, I covered the common signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's and other dementias, along with some dementia basics. So if you haven't had a chance to go back and listen to episode 8, I would encourage you to do so. To get you up to speed, here is a very high-level recap. Dementia is an umbrella term that describes a decline in mental ability that's severe enough to impact daily life. And there are various types of dementia, and they each have different hallmark symptoms and dementia-related behaviors. And the most common type of dementia that we see is Alzheimer's disease. That's why you hear about it more than any other type of dementia. For example, some of the other types are frontotemporal dementia or Lewy body dementia. Again, I hope you'll go back and listen to the last episode to learn even more about the various types of dementia. Regardless, though, of the type, it does not impact just people here in the U.S. It impacts people across the globe. And that is why an organization called Alzheimer's Disease International exists. We call it ADI for short. ADI brings together Alzheimer's and dementia associations across the world to further advocacy, research, and policy. Another thing that ADI is really well known for is their World Alzheimer's Report, which they released today on World Alzheimer's Day. And this year's theme is Never Too Early, Never Too Late. And it centers around risk factors and risk reduction. As I mentioned, Alzheimer's and other dementias impact people all across the globe. Over 55 million people worldwide live with dementia. And the number of people affected is set to raise to over 139 million by the year 2050. Wow, that's a sobering statistic. And it makes the work of ADI and its affiliates so important. And one of those affiliates happens to be the US-based Alzheimer's Association. Gosh, I love the Alzheimer's Association, and personally and professionally have been volunteering and advocating for them for over 10 years. In my work at Home Instead, I've partnered locally and nationally in their walk to end Alzheimer's. I've helped to attend and plan various conferences and events. Among them is the Dementia Care Provider Roundtable. I'm one of the founding members, and I love that group of thought leaders that come together all around how we make dementia care better across care continuums. The mission of the Alzheimer's Association is to lead the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementias by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing the quality care and support. I feel really honored to have recently interviewed the Alzheimer's Association's CEO, Dr. Joanne Pike, and I want to share some of that interview with you now. Hi, Dr. Pike. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, the pleasure is truly mine. Would you mind by just kind of telling us a little bit more about yourself and your role at the Alzheimer's Association?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I am the president and CEO of the Alzheimer's Association and also the Alzheimer's Impact Movement. Both of those organizations are here to serve communities and those who have Alzheimer's or another dementia. The work I do with the Alzheimer's Association is really, quite honestly, one of the biggest gifts I've been given as a leader. We have an opportunity to not only change the course of Alzheimer's and other dementias, but also to make sure that any innovations that happen, whether they are in care or in treatment, reach communities across the nation and potentially impact the world.
That's fantastic. Well, it's a big mission and very excited that you are at the helm leading the way. I know there's a lot of work that goes on within your organization. What has you most excited about the field of Alzheimer's and the science and the research?
Yeah, right now we are really in a pivotal moment in the Alzheimer's cause. We're seeing more research come out that is changing what we know about treatments and risk reduction in the course of Alzheimer's long term. It's truly a moment where we get to think about what are we doing now and into the future as an association, but also how are we going to change lives, those who are potentially impacted by Alzheimer's now and into the future.
That is very, very exciting. And I know, on our podcast, a lot of our followers, they're family caregivers themselves. They've been seeing in the news that there are new therapeutics for Alzheimer's disease. Can you talk to us a little bit about those therapeutics and what it means specifically for caregivers or care partners?
Sure. Right now, there are two drug therapeutics that have received approval by the FDA, and one that is seeking approval in the coming few months. Those treatments are called monoclonal antibodies, and they target removing amyloid beta from the brain, one of those hallmark causes of Alzheimer's disease. These treatments right now really are focused in on the earliest stages of Alzheimer's disease or mild cognitive impairment due to Alzheimer's disease, and really focus on, like I mentioned, removing the amyloid. But what it is showing is as amyloid is removed, individuals have longer time without progression at the earliest stages of the disease. So it's giving them potentially more time during the earliest stages that give them opportunities to participate, whether that's in their medical decisions. They're able to make more memories with their family at a time that they are really able to participate to a fuller extent.
That is very exciting. I know we've been waiting for therapeutics for a long time. And so it's very, very exciting to see these come about. And thank you for sharing how those can impact people living with the disease and their care partners. I also would love to just learn a little bit more about the Alzheimer's Association and the services and supports that you provide to those living with Alzheimer's disease.
Since the origins of the Alzheimer's Association, one of our key functions as an organization is really providing care and support services to those who are either have Alzheimer's disease or their caregivers and care partners who need support. We've been doing that in communities nationwide and through our online and phone-based platforms for decades now. This is truly, one of the most important things that a family can have is the resources to ensure that they can learn about information about the disease or another form of dementia besides Alzheimer's. Make sure that they have access to resources in their community so they know where to go, whether that's resources for medical care or whether that's resources for community-based services that could be of assistance. The Alzheimer's Association really prides ourselves in understanding what is available in a community and making sure that we provide that information to families and caregivers. But it doesn't stop there. We also have master's level clinicians available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on our own helpline service. And that's one of the things that I think is incredibly valuable to family members, no matter what time it is, what question you have, whether you are in an emergency or whether you just have a question about an upcoming doctor's appointment. We're here to help you, whether that's over the phone or on the web. And our phone service is available to anyone, like I mentioned, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 1-800-272-3900. And our website's available at alz.org.
That helpline is, I think, so valuable to family caregivers, because as you mentioned, whether it's 3 a.m. and they're at their wits' end, they just don't know where else to turn, they can pick up the phone and call. Or if they're just kind of in the beginning stages, wanting to learn more and to plan ahead, again, such a valuable resource along with your website. So we'll be sure to get that information out to all those that are listening so that they can tap into those great resources. I also know that this summer you gathered the largest group of researchers at the Alzheimer's Association's International Conference. And so could you just share some of the highlights of that event and what, I guess, kind of your biggest takeaways from the event?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, in July, we gathered over 11,000 researchers, whether that was in person in Amsterdam or on our hybrid platform available online. It is the largest research convening of dementia researchers in the world. And this year was incredibly impactful. We had a couple of really important highlights that I'd love to be able to share with you. One, as we talked about treatments, one of those treatments did a phase 3 report out, donanemab, talked about the results that they saw in their clinical trials, truly seeing some of the best clinical trial results that we have seen to date on a monoclonal antibody that is really focused on the earliest stages of Alzheimer's disease. So we were able to see those results and share the impact from our meeting at Amsterdam. Another one was hearing about hearing aids and what impact hearing aids can have in reducing risk of Alzheimer's long term. There was a research study that reported out the importance of making sure that you are using hearing aids and the impact it can have on your dementia risk. And then one that I think is incredibly important just from knowing about what we are seeing here in the United States is we had prevalence reports by county for the first time come available through AAIC. And so we're able to now see the impact of Alzheimer's disease down to the county level so that communities can plan and really resource what the burden that they are seeing locally.
Wow, that is an exciting development. And I know that, the research, the therapeutics are, so important. But I know just in attending the conference myself in past years, there's also often a focus on risk reduction. So I think it's great that they at the conference talked about hearing aids and how using those can help reduce your risk. If someone wanted to start doing something for their brain health, what are some of the things that the association, that the research is finding helps to reduce our risk for brain health? Or for cognitive impairment for our brain health, I should say.
It's a great question and something that we often get asked. What can I do today to provide any protection? One of the things to consider is what's good for the heart is good for the brain. So things like eating well, especially a Mediterranean diet, staying physically active, staying socially active, and now with this new research study, certainly making sure that we're taking care of our hearing as well.
Those are great tips. Sometimes they're a little easier said than done, but knowing that we can take those steps and it's never too early or never too late is very, very encouraging. So I guess another question that I get asked a lot when someone is first diagnosed is, okay, now what? Getting a diagnosis for a family or for an individual can be overwhelming. So what would you suggest to be a first step for those families after receiving that diagnosis?
I think always a first step is to find out more information. Make sure that you learn as much as you possibly can, and so that you understand how this impacts your life, but also the individual who is diagnosed. The Alzheimer's Association is here and available for any information you may want to find out about the disease. And a great place to start is alz.org. It's a wonderful resource. It has information, and we're a trusted source of things that are going on in your community as well that could be supportive. But information is the key to knowing what is a great next step for you and your family.
Yes, I think education is power. So the more we can learn and more we can tap into resources locally, the national resources that you provide are so critical. And finally, my last question to you, Dr. Pike, is, as someone who has seen Alzheimer's caregiving in many forms, what is one piece of advice that you would offer a family caregiver or care partner?
I think the biggest piece of advice I would have is after first finding the information you need to be successful, know that you need to give yourself also time to take care of you. Oftentimes as a caregiver, we feel so much stress to take care of another individual, and we often don't slow down to make sure that we also are taken care of. And all too often we hear about the stress burden, how individuals who are caregivers are not physically taking care of themselves as well. So I would slow down and make sure that you have your needs taken care of as well. And that's always easier said than done, but it's so important, not just for you, but also the individual that you're providing care for. And again, know that the Alzheimer's Association is available to help you along your own journey and the individual that you are potentially taking care of as well.
Thank you so much. That is one piece of advice that I don't think we can hear enough, is while you're taking care of others, it's so important to take care of yourself because caregivers and care partners play such an important role in the kind of Alzheimer's caregiving journey. So
it's very true.
Dr. Pike, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing information and updates from the Alzheimer's Association. And just want to thank you so much for all the work that you and all of your colleagues at the association do. It's very meaningful and important.
Thank you for the time and the ability to share with the Home Instead team and family how much it means to us to be a partner with you as well.
I want to thank Dr. Joanne Pike for joining me. I always enjoy learning more about the association and their meaningful impact. I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode and hope you'll tune in for next episode where we will talk all about practical tips for hands-on dementia care. I think that's a great way to round out World Alzheimer's Month. I'll be talking with my good friend and dementia care expert, David Troxel. You won't want to miss it. Also, if you have any other questions about Alzheimer's disease or other dementias, please email me. My email address is caregiverchats@homeinsteadinc.com. Again, that's caregiverchats@homeinsteadinc.com. I also invite you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Home Instead Inc. Again, Home Instead INC, for previews of upcoming episodes, caregiving tips, and more. And as always, you can find the links in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and please remember to take good care of yourself while you care for others. Caregiver Chats is brought to you by Home Instead. If you're looking for in-home care to support you on your caregiving journey, please visit homeinstead.com/caregiverchats to learn more.